What's good, YouTube? It's your boy Nehemiah, aka Neo, and today we're going to be talking about the Boston Celtics and whether or not they can repeat the magic that they had last year. So let's just get into it just straight up. Danilo Gallinari, I'm pretty sure he's probably going to be out for the season. I'm not gonna lie. ACL injury, yeah, nah, he probably out for the season. But just looking at the rest of it, I think that they just have a lot of the stuff that they could do that just really improves the magic that they already had. But not only that, but just bring a lot more new players in. Let's just talk about Malcolm Brogdon, for example. All right, it's starting to load up. He's a really good rim creator. He's a really good rim pressure player, especially when it comes to guards. Looking at his, where is it? Looking at his field goal or percentage of field goals, even though it doesn't look like it, he does take a lot of layups. He does take a lot of kind of close to the rim shots. And that's really what you want from this team, especially when it came to the Warriors series. They just didn't have enough rim pressure, or at least consistent rim pressure to really just damage the Warriors defense enough to make it so that they were able to win the series. I think that Malcolm Brogdon could just change that series. Not because he's like that good of a player, but because he's just able to emphasize a little weakness in the Warriors defense with the rim pressure. And I think along with him, he could probably just be another creator and playmaker for this team. He's able to average, somewhere around 7 assists. I'm pretty sure they were a playoff team this year or a playing team. They were one of the two. I don't know, but regardless of that, I think that he could just give Jason Tatum a little bit more to work with when it comes to playmaking, just being the sole initiator. And while I would say that this team in general is a very pass heavy team, don't get me wrong. This team does like to swing the ball around, just make sure that they're getting the best shot as they can. There is a little thing where this team could just kind of just die from that and they just go to isolation ball with Jalen Brown or Jason Tatum. But I don't think we've seen that enough in the playoffs. I think that we see the opposite. The only times when they went really that bad was in fourth quarters. But I think we're just going to talk about that regardless in general. And I think that they're just going to improve because, again, Malcolm Brogdon's able to just alleviate a lot of the pressure from Jason Tatum and Jalen Brown from really scoring the ball. Not only that, but just being the better playmaker out of the three. I would say that he's the better playmaker right now, but I think that next year Jason Tatum is probably just going to take over. But let's just look at Jason Tatum for a real quick minute. He was averaging 6 assists per game. This is great, but the problem was I'm pretty sure he wasn't averaging that much turnovers early on. But like, look at the Brooklyn series. He was not averaging. Oh well, never mind. He was averaging that much turnovers. Damn, damn. Tatum was just throwing the ball away. But even in the Milwaukee series, he wasn't averaging that much turnovers. And I know let me just throw in Game 7. Yeah, he wasn't averaging that much turnovers. It was really just the Warriors series and the Miami Heat series that made him kind of just fumble the ball. And it's really just concerning. 4.3 turnovers is not good. It's not good. He's averaging 1.5 assists per turnovers. That's not that. No, you don't want that. And another thing with Jason Tatum is during this Warriors series, he was essentially just kept out of the paint, and it was rough to see. He had to settle for a lot of wide or long jumpers, and even though he was really good from three. In the series, this was definitely his best series. 4.5 on 7 threes. Every single other shot he took though, he did not make. It was nasty. That's some nasty work. I'm not gonna lie, which is why I think that again Malcolm Brogdon really just improves on that. Also with a lot more rim pressure, I think this team is just gonna get a lot more open looks. They don't have to rely on Marcus Smart to go to the rim when Draymond is underneath the basket. They don't really want that. Also, one thing to note, I already made a YouTube short about this, but Robert Williams is going to be out for the first 4 to 6 weeks, which kind of leads into another problem. This team is kind of injury prone. The team just kind of does not play as much as you'd like it to be. Someone like Robert Williams doesn't really have that great of an injury history. Jason Tatum, I'm pretty sure he's actually pretty built. I think that he's able to carry. Yeah, again, this was a shortened season along with this one, but he's essentially been playing 80 games every season. But in the playoffs this year, yeah, he played every game, but you could tell after the Miami series that he was kind of cooked. He was not doing the best that he could. And I think that that's what we really need to look at when it comes to him. All right. And I just want to look at the playoff stats. So he shot 74 on layups, essentially. He shot six. Okay. Yeah, that's another way that you can improve. You could just probably just get a lot more better shot. Not shot IQ, but better shot selection. That's what I mean. Looking at Jaylen Brown, people would say that he was a better Jalen or a better Jay last year, and I'd have to disagree. I think that Jason Tatum was taking a lot more of a load, but I think that he was definitely the better scorer. But that's mostly because they just didn't throw the best defenses at him. So now looking at it, I think that these four are what's going to separate this team from last year. I think that Grant Williams is already taking the stride that we really want him to. He's a much better three-point shooter, even though the stats would not suggest that he's really improved that much. I would say in the playoffs, he was just lights out, and I think that we're going to see something like that again. So I think that he really just doesn't need to improve at all. He's still 23, by the way. But I think that if he's just a little bit stronger as a defender, a little bit stronger as an offensive creator, maybe, I think that could really just improve this team. Robert Williams, I think that he's really perfect where he's at right now. If he's like a better defender, hey, that would improve this team. But also, let me just grab Al Horford. There's something I want to talk about with Al Horford, but it's very matchup specific. As we've seen in the Warrior series, this dude was getting cooked, and it wasn't really the best thing either. It was bad. I would show the plays right now, but I would get copyright striked, and I'm not trying to have this video die. Plus, I didn't upload yesterday, it would be bad. But just looking at these stats, he was really good last year, don't get me wrong. But again, he was playing the center a lot while Robert Williams was out. But another thing to really note is that this guy was really suffering from the drop coverage that he was putting on against some players, He was able to hold his own against Giannis for a lot of the games, especially the earlier games, just by himself. But when it came to how he defended Steph Curry, it was just nah. I think that's more of a matchup thing, though. I think that's more of a defensive scheme that they try to use rather than them actually just being just defenders as themselves. That being said, when he was switched on Steph Curry, he was getting cooked regardless. So I really want to see how he could really just improve all that. But the thing is, he's 36. He's going to be 36 next year. And while I do expect him to really just have the same stride that he did this year, especially because playoff Al is something special. He's been averaging 16 points per game since Atlanta. Even though he averaged 12 points per game on this year, I'm sure if he had this much shots, he would probably average the same amount of points. The thing with Al Horford, though, is whether or not he is going to get cooked like he did last year, which I'm hopeful he's not going to. I think that he's probably just going to take a lot less of a load if Robert Williams is 100% healthy, which is going to be something to see. Also, another thing about this roster, they're very, very versatile. They have everything. They got everything. And that's just not talked about enough. They got Danilo Gallinari, a really good shooter, especially as a big. Grant Williams, 3D. Really good shot blocker. Really good defender in general. They got Marcus Smart. There's nothing to say about Marcus Smart. We got Derek White. Again, a really good guard, especially for this team. And they just got one big wing, and then Jaylen Brown, who's also kind of a big guard. And then they got these two. It's just there's just nothing to compete with it. I think that from these like 6, 7, 8 players, I think that they have they're at least top 3. So yeah. But Derek White and Marcus Smart, I think that If they're just as good as they were last year, then I think that they're probably going to go back to the finals, honestly. But that leads me to one thing. The fourth quarter last year, they kind of sucked. And even though the numbers may not 100% suggest it, the fact is that this team just wasn't the best in the fourth quarter situations. I would say that a notorious one would be the game five. No, the game four against Milwaukee. That was a notorious one. Game three against the Warriors was no. It was game four against the Warriors. They're really bad at game fours if you didn't know. But another really big one was game three against Miami. They weren't really the best, especially in that game since Jimmy Butler left in the second half. I think that we could really just see something from this team that is just a little bit better from last year. And also keep in mind, this is Ime Udoka's first year of coaching. Ime Udoka is better at coaching. He's probably going to be better at coaching this year, especially since he has a little bit more experience on his belt. He's probably has the best first year that someone like him could ever imagine, especially with a team like with the Warriors coming back. I would say that they could really just, even though they didn't really make the biggest trades, they didn't make the biggest signings, even though I would say that they really did make a really big trade and a really big signing with Danilo Gallinari. I think that this team just has enough to make it back without any of that extra shit. So I would say that Ime Udoka is probably going to be a little bit more consistent when it comes to fourth quarter coaching. I think that these players are just going to be a little more disciplined, and I think that's all they really need, you know. But yeah, this has been it for your boy Nehemiah, aka Neo, and I may upload later today another video, but that's probably gonna be like at like 6. So yeah, it's been your boy Nehemiah, aka Neo. I hope you guys are having a great one. Check out the videos today. I'm probably gonna upload like 4 or 5.